speaker is Michael Schultz. Woo! Now I get it. Michael Schultz, now I get it.
I got a call from an old friend. She and I have been debating the nature of German history for the past 20 years. Her mom survived Auschwitz. She would always say to me, Michael, you don't get it. This is my family. I've got a degree in 20th century German history. I would say to her, Leah, you don't get it. This is history. A couple of years ago, Leah came to me with an hour-long documentary about my favorite musician, about the ancestry of him. Said, Michael, I want you to watch this video. Let me know what you think about this. When I wrote this speech, I decided to contact her and say, hey, Leah, what do you think of my speech? Fellow Toastmasters, honored guest, my friend Leah. In 1928, the young son of a German Jewish textile merchant, Karl Amsung Joll, invested his life savings in a brand new idea from the United States. Mail-order textile merchandising. This had never been done before in Germany. Put his entire life savings into this. Within no time, his business was thriving. Everyone in Nuremberg was buying his product. Shortly after this, all of Germany was buying Joll's product. But at the same time that Joll's business was growing in Germany, something else was growing in Germany, the Nazi Party. The Nazi district leader of Nuremberg, the Gauleiter, a man by the name of Julius Streicher, had a personal vendetta against Joll. He was out to destroy his reputation because Joll had a fabulous reputation. He would have the Gestapo arrest him in public in order to try to destroy him. By 1934, Joll had had enough and decided to move his business to Berlin. Why Berlin? It's the capital of Germany. It's where Hitler hung out. He had a friend high up in the Berlin city government who he hoped could protect him. Later on, he found out he was wrong. He packed his entire business on 106 rail cars, moved it to a fashionable section of Berlin, but soon after trouble began because he found that in the forest right next to his villa, the SS, the SA, and the Hitler Youth did their drills. His wife and his son were scared for their life. 1937, Joll's business was thriving. It was bringing in 1 million Reichsmarks a month. It was valued at 12 million Reichsmarks. 12 million Reichsmarks in today's dollar is about $84 million. 1938 changed everything. 1938, Joll could no longer advertise in the newspaper. All of his parcels had to be marked J for Jew. And all of the non-Jewish suppliers that supplied him with raw material refused to supply his business. But then in April 1938, there was the Nazi proclamation for the Aryanization of Jewish enterprises. A pseudo-law which in effect made it illegal to own a business in Germany if you were Jewish. Joll had one of the few Jewish businesses left in Germany, but he realized at this point he had lost his battle. He was forced to sell, and he wasn't even allowed to negotiate the sale of his business. His business was sold for 2.3 million Reichsmarks. That was later reduced to 1.1 million Reichsmarks. That money was put in a trust, and he never got a single penny of it. As soon as he sold his business, he and his wife Maida fled Germany to Switzerland, where their son Helmut was. Then they made their way to England, boarded a ship, and made their way to the Caribbean. They had visas for Cuba, but were denied entry into Cuba, so they made their way to New York City. And in 1942, Joll opened a smaller business, much less profitable than the business he left behind in Germany. 1945, Helmut, who was now known as Howard, was drafted into the American Army. With the American 7th Army, he liberated Dachau, one of the famous concentration camps where millions of Jewish people died. Howard would return to the United States. His father would remain in the United States through the late 60s. In 1957, he won a lawsuit against his former business, which was now worth billions of Deutschmarks, and he got 2 million Deutschmarks. He would live in the United States until he liquidated his business and then returned to Nuremberg for the rest of his life. Howard would remain in the United States until the early 50s. He was a very talented musician. He passed that talent on to his young son, William. Howard would leave the United States to return to Europe and would end up in Vienna, Austria. William did not live an easy life growing up. William ran the streets of New York City, got involved with boxing, but his love was music. However, his first attempts at music were failures. The first 2 or 3 bands he was in were failures. His first musical albums were failures until 1977 when he released The Stranger. I tell you this so that when you look through history, when you look at the photos of history, especially if you're looking at the Holocaust, that you understand that these are not nameless gray faces. These are people's fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, cousins, their family. And the survivors of the Holocaust, they may have touched your life directly. You see, if Carl and his son Howard had not survived the Holocaust, the world would not have its beloved rock star, who we all know by his Americanized name, Billy Joel. And that is when Leah exclaimed to me, "Michael, you finally get it."